would be like us releasing the original Die Hard video that we made before anything, where we're sitting in my kitchen talking to a cell phone that was like leaned against the faucet of my sink. Like that was our first technically ever episode.
I don't even know if I still have that footage. I have no idea.
Good question. I probably
have
something.
It was on the drive for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Might have deleted it. Just like we're never going to use this.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about Die Hard.
Sure.
I have to take my hand out. Because one thing that they teach you in school is not to block.
Yes, and the face. Not the face. Should we be looking at the camera?
We could look at the camera.
Theater style, but talking to each other?
Hi, Ara.
Hello, Andrew. I am classically trained in theater.
We don't use tape anymore.
I wish.
We don't. But you have a very large tape collection, VHS collection.
I do.
And I remember when I was younger, I would have a lot of VHS tapes. I've since moved on to other formats. But you know, there's something kind of nice about watching things on tape. We watched Rambo:
First Blood, Part 2.
Yesterday evening during the party.
Watch about the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, which is probably arguably the only part to watch.
Best part, yeah.
Interesting movie, fun movie. It's a lot of fun, a lot of energy,
Mm-hmm.
excitement. But that is a movie that we would watch on tape, and your studio is equipped to handle watching movies on tape.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is
It's a fancy way of saying I have a VCR.
well, yeah, but I think it's become, I don't know, more in vogue to have VHS tapes, watch them. You know, it's like people are nostalgic for it. So I'm just wondering,
talking about this. My hobby is now unaffordable thanks to, people on Reddit posting their finds.
In the creation of our show, we were toying around with different ideas of like, well, we have our requel show, right? And requel would be, here's a film, we want to make a sequel, a remake, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was, what about shows like a lot of other podcasters, or I should say YouTubers, at the time. I didn't even know what a podcast was back then.
Ask Mark Maron.
Or Bill Burr.
Yeah.
Hey, checking in on ya.
And I'm just checking in on you.
It's Monday, February 20.
He's fun.
He is fun.
He's got to fix those audio issues, but other than that, he's fun.
I listened to an episode of his where like the audio dropped out.
It happens like almost weekly. Like, anyway, I don't know what happened, but where did I leave off?
Doesn't he have like headphones? Doesn't he have a monitor? Doesn't he?
Half the time he's recording on his phone. Other times, like, his computer's updating. Like, he's got a producer, I think edits everything, but there's no one there sitting with him to be like, all right, Bill, you just got to hit record. Like,
He's only been doing the show for 10 years.
Look, it's a slow learning curve. Meanwhile, the man's piloting helicopters all over the city.
You be careful, Bill. All right.
Yeah. Love you, buddy. You drove by the studio.
He did. That was nice. It was a fun day.
It was.
It's like, hey.
That's my house.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, the internet was full of YouTubers. Sorry, YouTube was full of people.
Of interneters.
Of interneters.
Right.
That were basically talking about movies, movie reviews, just, like, yeah, so this is my opinion of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's a large ocean, and
It's hard to stick out.
it is very hard to stick
You've
out.
got, who was really big for a while was Nostalgia Critic,
Sure.
and he was just famous for yelling at the camera.
Yeah.
Not as popular anymore. He had his hype maybe 10 years ago. Obviously, Red Letter Media, huge still. Everyone has their own unique style, but it's very hard to stick out in such a crowded field of movie reviews.
But even Red Letter, they are unlike a lot of other shows where very high production values, but they talk about movies that like very few people really give a about.
Yes, that's true. Because of how successful basically the Star Wars videos were. And then because of that, they could just essentially do whatever they want. And I think it's really what it comes down to at this point. It's like really hard to become successful off an original idea, but like once you've built at least an audience off like one thing, then you can have like more flexibility to do what you want.
Right.
We haven't gotten to any of those points yet.
But we thought we did because
But we're having fun.
Because when we did Recall, and I think that we actually shot this movies on tape footage before we ever did a Recall. Either that or it was right at the beginning of it. It was like maybe we shot Back to the Future, and then we're like, well, what if we had another show? Because one show is not enough.
No.
We need to have multiple shows.
Sure.
Just like we have multiple podcasts. I think we're up to 20 podcasts.
The shotgun effect.
Homer Simpson shotgun makeup shot.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So for all of the
Women will like what I tell them to like, Lisa. Do you think women are really going to let you shoot them in the face? Women will like what I tell them to like, Lisa. It's a great line.
I will admit I don't remember the timeline for when we shot this footage for movies on what became.
I don't even
Movies on
remember it.
Tape.
I didn't know we were going to do this. I didn't even watch it. What even happens in this episode?
All right, so it is a Ferris Bueller's episode.
We definitely shot that early. I remember I was wearing a navy blue shirt, and we were in the living room.
We were.
That's all I remember.
And some bar stools.
Yeah, it looked good. It actually looked decent.
Yeah, and we were like, well, are we going to use... I think we had the green screen in there, but we set it up vertically.
We did.
And that was fine because we were trying to do something where it's like we would just make it as like a monitor. We would just put videos on behind us, but not really knowing how green screen worked appropriately.
Right.
It was a little rough. And then I would also put up words and images and just clips from the film and
Right.
all of that stuff.
So we were trying to take a more, academic approach to reviewing this film, right? Something that we really enjoyed, this movie that we really liked.
Yeah, and I think it backfired because it was ultimately pretty dull. It didn't really have a lot going on.
I wouldn't even say it backfired. It didn't even fire. You pulled the trigger and nothing happened.
Man.
Not even backfired. I would take a backfire at this point.
I'd take that.
At least it's a boom.
There was one thing, and maybe this is where I fully understood fixing things in post. If there was one part of that series, and again, it was something that I had put together. I had shown it to you, and then you were like, yeah, I don't know. And I was like, well, maybe you could do
that
something
what I
with
said?
it. I was
All
pretty
right,
much
then
that.
you do something with it.
But it was maybe in the
And I think I put some
second.
like commercials in there or something.
Yeah, you took it and you turned it into like
I
a bizarre, like surreal kind of thing.
I think I was trying to turn it into a meme, basically. I memeified it.
Yeah. And one of the reasons that we even decided to put this out there in the first place was because we were on our schedule of releasing something
Yeah.
every week. And it was like,
Some people will call it filler. I much preferred, I don't know, additive.
supplemental.
Yeah, it's a much better word.
But
Hot
yeah.
dogs have filler. We have additives.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Speaking of hot dogs, great episode.
That's way in the future.
Worst of the worst is what I call it.
Oh, man. Again, it's a show. It's a one-off.
I
you
think
know?
we both chose Wonder Bread with toppings.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would not eat a. But it was.
I was trying to get you back into that discussion.
It was.
Almost had you.
It was the taking footage of me talking about the film, and like full disclosure, when we edit these films, they later turn into films.
They do.
When I edit these videos, I'm looking at both of us and see what our reactions are, because sometimes if I say something and you're like that, like it might be important just to dwell on that reaction, because that could be humorous. As I'm blabbing on and on and on, you have this thing where you are being very patient and just like, and I remember like just zooming in on that and like zooming back out as I keep talking. And like I did manipulate, how, you would say something and I would not react. I did do that a little bit, but that was when I realized, like, you could, under the right circumstances and with enough, perhaps foresight.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You could make something funny
Make it work. In post. So
I
gotcha.
The Ferrari itself becomes a point of, I don't know how you would say that. Becomes an aspect of the film. I remember the Ferrari was trashed, and even Cameron's like, I can't hide this. So it's like it forces him to confront his father. So the Ferrari itself is that thing, that symbol of the father's, I don't know what I'm trying to say. So I mean, the Ferrari is an important thing to the film, and yet another aspect of the film that people might kind of lose. So
but when you over rely on something like that, I think that's where you get into trouble.
Yeah, the zoom has definitely turned into a gag that I think both you and I use, but it's not one that we plan. It's like you said, it's in the editing room, and you're like, oh, that's funny. Like one of us is just like not reacting or has a really just staged reaction or plain reaction. I'm a big fan of the slow zoom in on your face when I'm talking.
Yeah,
that is funny, but yeah, it just. I don't know, it was one of those where, you're right, we shot it way before and just couldn't figure out what to do with it. So we're like, let's just put it out there. But I kind of remember making it, but I don't even remember what happens. I know there's a couple of commercials in there.
It just kind of fell flat. It was an idea that wasn't fleshed out, and it really was filler. There was nothing about it that I never rewatched them. I never look at them. I don't look at the originals. I don't look at the remix. Movies on tape, forgotten, but that's okay.
Gone but not forgotten.
Gone
and forgotten.
And forgotten until today when I dredged it up, because
currently residing in the recycling bin of your iMac.
Yeah. But if I find any footage of it, I will include it on here.
Movies on tape?
Sure.
Okay. I would like to see it.
I will put it on here.
Should we do like a YouTube survey? Because we have, I'm being serious.
A
like,
YouTube survey?
Yes, because the only reason I bring it up is because we now have access to that feature, whereas we didn't before. Like when YouTube, revamped or whatever, did their updates this year, they decided to give smaller YouTube channels access to posting, which we didn't have access to before. I think you had to be monetized in order to make a post where you can promote an old video or do a survey and people can vote. But I just I want to bring it up because I did notice the other day when I was in YouTube or Creator Studio, I was like, oh, we can post things now. We couldn't do that before.
That's cool.
So
maybe we do.
Maybe we take a survey and be like, what do you guys want to see? Because we've talked, we're in, trying to figure out how to bring back the RQ show, but in a much more streamlined format, where it's not going to take us, all these weeks to just make one episode, So finding the things that we like, getting rid of the things that didn't work, and coming up with this kind of new, maybe 8 to 10 minute show would be great. But right now we're very heavily focused on the podcast and like the one-off episodes, which is fine too. We love those, like the 100th episode, the telethon, the Halloween stuff. I love making those things. I love writing them. I love working on them. I love shooting. It's just such a pain in the ass to edit. I know. It takes a long time. You're talking hours of footage that we got to get down to like 18 to 20 minutes, which is insane.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
25-page scripts, 26-page scripts.
Well, it's the footage. No, man, that 100th episode just wiped me out. It
was a great episode.
Took forever.
It did. I mean, you wrote it, and then I was like, let me rewrite some of it. So even just the writing part took a while. And then shooting it, it was like 98 degrees in here.
Yeah.
Maria helped, right? No, Maria wasn't even here. It was just the two of us, basically. It's insane.
Redkin was here a little bit. But then it was like, well, I don't know what my thought was in this of like, well, maybe this is the last time that we're going to be doing like Honey Wagon. I mean, it was pretty tenuous for a while. Just to think like, we haven't done it in a long time, COVID, pandemic, all that. And then it's like, well, are we still going to be doing this? Because, we had that podcast, but, how much traction is that podcast really getting? At the same time, the podcast that we had done during COVID times was through Zoom, and it was like, it's not the same thing.
It didn't look great. It didn't sound great. It got views. I think people were so bored they were even watching our podcast.
Nice.
It did well. But no, the 100th for me, and again, a number is just a number, but it really was important to me to do a 100th episode like that. And we talked about it, and you made the good point. You're like, it's technically not our 100th RQ, it's our 100th video. Like, yeah, but still, it's a big benchmark. 100 of anything is a lot, Like, you can imagine if you've written 100 songs in 5 years. Like, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
They're not all going to be winners. But yeah, it was a great episode, and I really enjoyed making the Halloween one too. It was great to reunite with Maria. So yeah, I think you and I are definitely both having these feelings of like, man, it would be fun to do that show again or some version of that show. But who knows? Maybe we'll take that poll, like I said. We'll put that poll out there.
We were talking about Magic the Gathering, and I'm like, yeah, you play in a group, and you're like a circle jerk of nerds.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Nice.
I bleeped that out.
Oh, I mean,
you said it a few times, and I
wanted to make sure.
Bleeped everything out.
Oh.
Maybe I'll keep it in. I don't know.
I mean, do they even do those? Did anyone ever do that? I feel like it happened once, many years ago, and they're like, we'll just make it a joke, and people will think this is what we do when you get to college.
All right. Well,
I believe I've given you enough material to work with.
Plenty. I can't wait to start.
From the to the.
Oh, God.
We got everything here. Everything you need.
Yeah, it's all good. That is.
How you gonna get to that college? You gonna get rid of the circle jerk? It's like, no, I'm not doing the circle jerk. Mr. Fancy go to college for them circle jerks. That's what they do there, Is it? Is it really?
I feel like Marvy should step in here.
Pretty sure you study and then, drink too much.
Andrew, you
maybe get laid every once in a while, but not.
You going to college, Ara?
Oh, you gonna join one of them circle jerks?
I heard they're the latest thing. Everybody does it. In fact, everybody has to do it. You need more than 2 people.
It's true. That's how you can't make a circle with 2 points. That's a straight line. It's true. Well, we've covered a lot.
We have. Circling back around.
Oh. If you could just reach around and fix that cable, that would really help me out a lot.
Just pull on it?
Yeah. Come on. This is good stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, and this is the type of thing that'll be in after hours.
Ugh.
But completely bleeped.
Completely. Thank you for watching, folks.
And sorry.
All right. We'll see you later.
All right.
Jerk.
It's the Modelo, I swear. Especial.
Okay.
I've had 2 of these and it's over.
2.
This is my second one. I know. Oh, yeah, at least somebody's drinking. Oh! Metallica's like, this is great. We love everybody. Also, Metallica.